Hello and welcome to the Winners Never Quit podcast. Start your week the right way with a laugh, a dose of motivation, and listen to the stories of our amazing guests. Learn from their experience and how they have built a winner's mindset. Hosted by myself, Jack Jarvis, and if you could like, follow, or subscribe to the podcast, I would really, really appreciate it. Today I am joined by fellow ocean rower and adventurer, Mitch Hutchcraft. Mitch rowed across the Atlantic the same year as myself, rowing from Gran Canaria to Barbados, cycled across America, and is currently planning the world's longest triathlon. And he joins me now. Mitch, how the hell are you doing, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, mate. Happy we finally managed to get set up and you've managed to work out your mic.
Yeah, it took a while.
We'll
probably have a few cock-ups between now and then, mate, but that's fine.
I'm sure we will, but don't worry, mate. It's going to be good. I've been looking forward to doing this, and I start every podcast the same, mate. So how do you define winning in your life?
I guess it's more just of a mindset. Is how you approach things, how you tackle any problems you have, whether it's physical, mental, and that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be big. It's just how you approach things and how you get back up once you've been knocked down, basically, I think.
I'm pretty sure I heard that line in Rocky, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I nearly quoted the whole thing, but I thought, but yeah.
Mate, what's your favourite Rocky film, just out of interest?
Oh, without a doubt, number 4.
Yes, it is, mate. Mate. Unreal, mate.
Yeah.
Unreal. When he's training in the snow.
Yeah, you
Class.
can't do that.
Yeah,
The cart in that, mate, is the best one.
Yeah, unreal. So, mate, tell us about your childhood, because something I didn't say in your intro, mate. You're an ex-Royal Marine as well. Yeah. So tell us about your childhood, you growing up and then joining the Marines.
Really quiet childhood, really lucky. Grew up in, Cambridgeshire, so, the east of England. And ever since I was a kid, I just loved being outdoors, just constantly outdoors, building dens as you do. We're all like that as kids. Never wanted to stay in, hardly ever played any games in my life, computer games. Just always out and about. Quite sheltered, yeah, it was pretty nice and chilled out. Moved about quite a lot, which is not with the military or anything like that, because that wasn't until later, but just moved around loads within the area we were in. And then when I was about 12 years old, we moved to Cyprus. So I actually ended up being lucky enough to grow up over there for 3 years.
How come you moved to Cyprus?
Just really random. One day we just went out for a holiday, and my dad was like, "I hope you liked it," because we're moving there in 2 weeks. And I was like, "Okay, great." So most of my secondary school life was out there learning Greek. Just kind of living the life, which was quite nice, a bit random, but
that is a bit random, but cool though.
Yeah, but in the back of my mind, I always had the military in my mind and stuff, because we had the base down the road and things like that, But that ended it. I came back when I was 16, finished school, which was a bit stupid, coming back halfway through GCSEs and having to redo everything. Came back then, and then from there, had a bit of it rolled on to a bit of a random education after that, I'm not going to lie. So I finished school and then I ended up doing zoology, which kind of ties into why I'm doing this big expedition later, which we'll hear about. I've done zoology, an animal care course, worked in zoos, worked with animals.
Fancied yourself as a bit of a David Attenborough, yeah?
Yeah, Steve Owen,
Steve Owen,
Steve Owen's the legend.
A little bit cooler.
Yeah, Steve Baxter.
Mate, I still remember when he died. I
was heartbroken. It's one of the few people I've cried about. Him and Robin Williams were probably the only two I actually got very upset about. But no, great. Obviously, loads of other legends growing up, like Steve Baxter and stuff like that, David Attenborough. But yeah, I'd say that was a massive passion of mine, which I kind of reared off from when I finished that, because instead of going on to the animal stuff, I'd done kind of fitness, things like that, but then moved to Australia when I was around 20. And that took a bit of a U-turn. I was meant to be there a couple of years, and then my dad got really ill, unfortunately, and within a week I was back home and he'd passed away. And then that's when I was sat there thinking, it's about time to think about my life, really. I always spoke about the dream of joining the military and the Royal Marines, which is, in my mind was always the one I wanted to go for. So, sat there at a computer. Within an hour I applied for it, and then that was it, really. So
that was back in... What year was that? You joined the Marines?
I joined start of 16, so it started 2015. So got back from Australia 2014. Father passed away then, and then within 6 months, 2015 it started, and then at the end of the year it took a while because it was a bit of a while to get in. That was all, and kind of just went from there. But I wasn't actually even meant to be able to join the military. So I'll spend that one on to you.
Yeah, go on.
I got completely tore my knees and that up in playing football in the UK. But luckily, I went to Australia. There's medical care there, obviously. It's so much better than ours. And ended up having surgery and stuff. But luckily enough, when I came back, there was no record of it on my medical records. So I told them the truth, I had knee surgery, just didn't go into specifics.
Yeah.
Because I thought there's only one way of knowing if you're going to make it through Royal Marines training is just to give it a go. So, but luckily, got through one go and was lucky enough to make it through the other side.
What do they call it in Royal Marine training when you go through with your original troop? Like just an original? Yeah, original.
Yeah, I was very lucky, mate. Just, don't get me wrong, there are dozens of lads who are probably even better than me that didn't make it through original, but that was purely just down to you're the lad that doesn't break your ankle, you're the lad that doesn't get sick. So combination of that and hard work. I was lucky enough. I was like, my knee's not going to last that long, and I can't, I don't want to be as long as I have to be. So
any longer than you need to be.
Yeah. So in and out them doors, but it takes some people takes a long time.
What was your time in the Royal Marines like, mate?
Same as probably most lads will tell you, tough as hell most of the time, but worth every minute. Big part of what shapes you mentally and gives you that mindset to help you achieve. Well, it's definitely helped me achieve what I've come on to do. And without that, it would be, you kind of redefines what it's possible. They instill that into you, the skills, the other practical skills, and everything's just great journey. Obviously, the guys are amazing. Overall, everyone's just the brotherhood's just amazing, and I've made a few friends for life. And even though I wasn't in for too long, 5.5 years, it was still worth every second.
Where did you spend most of your time?
I never left 4-5, so straight to Scotland.
Bro.
But I wouldn't have had it any other way. And just living in the mountains every weekend, always out making the most of it, and had some amazing trips. Great people.
What was one of your best trips?
Probably to the United States, over there, and
what exercise?
It was just like a black alligator.
It
was the equivalent, but on the West Coast, so in California.
Okay.
So that was amazing. Yeah, just training with the US Marines there for their pre-deployment to go to Iraq. So we've been brought in to get them up to scratch, ready to go across there. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. I was in mortar troop by then, so we were just cutting around the desert in Viking, in obviously mortar mounted Vikings, and just turning around the desert there. So that was amazing. But great lads, amazing time, and I thank everyone in there for helping me.
Must have some good dits from mortars.
Certainly do. Nothing that can be put on a podcast, that's for sure. But I'll let you leave that to your imagination.
Yeah. I was going to say they've got quite a reputation.
But for being the best lads.
Yeah, for being the best lads, of course. Definitely not 100%. For having the most snags.
No.
Why did you end up leaving the Marines?
Just a combination. In fact, it was just a quiet time, as it is. There was nothing really happening. Not that I don't love every moment of it, but obviously promotion is slow. The trips were just the same kind of thing, and I just kind of felt like I needed a new challenge. You know what I mean? Not really sure what it would be, but for me, like even beforehand, if I was kind of had enough of something, then life's too short, and I just move on. Yeah. So I didn't go in there knowing necessarily I'd stay in forever. I just obviously go in there with an open mind, which we did, and I just felt I was ready for a new challenge. So that's why I decided just to give it a crack. Yeah,
it is quite frustrating, isn't it, at the minute? Because I can imagine when you went through training, all your full screws had Afghan experience for the large majority of them, and they spun those dits. Yeah. And then you join, and especially for me, I joined in 2010. By the time I got to my unit, it's 2012.
There you go, yeah.
It's all over.
It's all over, yeah. I mean, I missed it by 2-3 years, and it's just the way it is, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and wish
a war. Yeah, exactly.
But you train for something. Obviously, you'd like to have experienced that. But as I say, it was still amazing. Got quite as close to it as you can do in terms of the experiences and the training and the people you meet. So I'm still thankful for it. It's just the time. If we joined me and you had joined 20 years ago, it would have been a different story.
Exactly. Yeah, I always think if I'd have joined if I'd have been born 10 years earlier, Jesus, Iraq, Afghanistan, multiple times.
Exactly. And if I had, if it had been 10 years before, then it could have been 20-year career.
Yeah.
You just never know.
If we'd have been born then, Afghan, Iraq, all of that good stuff. Well, I say good stuff, and it's what leads me to this point. Like we wouldn't wish for a war. You see all these guys going over to Ukraine, and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, it's not a video game out there, so you got to be careful what you wish for. 100%.
Definitely.
So, mate, you leave the Marines, and then you go into what, and then how did you end up rowing the Atlantic?
So that was so I only left 2 years ago, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind since then. So I just went into, didn't really know what to do, but went into the security, doing private security here and there, because I had a friend who gave us a job. So I just done the course before I left, and lucky enough to be given a lifeline by, I say, great company, Black Onyx, who I'm working for now. They helped out with their own things, but whilst I was there, within the first 2 months of leaving the Marines, and my first 2 months there, a friend of mine who was also been from the Marines turned around and just said, randomly, how would you feel about rowing across an ocean? So
who was that?
A mate called Dan Northmore, and down in Uxbridge we were working like just a boring job basically. But he said, how would you feel about that? I was like, sounds great. just the idea of it, because I love the ocean, but obviously the idea of, as you know, like being not on your own, but pretty much isolated from the world, thousands of miles from ocean. I was thinking that sounds like a good challenge. So next thing you know, got put into a group and things snowballed from there. You know the guys anyway. You know what happened, and obviously we were both basically coached by the same person, and the legend, that's Chris Martin.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was
not the lead singer of Coldplay.
Yes, which I saw you put in that previous one. Yeah. Yeah, he's an amazing guy, and like I say, even though he was
he's just a cool guy, and I try and explain, he's almost like unflappable.
Yeah, almost too much unflappable.
Yeah,
almost too unflappable. But he's an absolute legend, and like it'll happen very quick. The other guys had been obviously had it planned for a long time. I got thrown in the mix only with a few months planning to do, no training whatsoever apart from a few hours in Plymouth, but about a week before we left, and next thing you know, we're out there obviously, and hear about you at the same time, and it's like a bit of motivation. It's this crazy guy doing it on his own. At least we've got each other to moan at. Yeah. So, but that was great. That was good fun.
I was going to say, what surprised you about ocean rowing that you didn't know when you said yes? Because when I heard about ocean rowing, I was like, yes, I want to do it. And then you just find out all these sort of things. But you had a very different journey to me. It took me nearly 2 years, 18 months.
Logistics planning would have been a lot more.
Exactly. So you said yes, and then what were you like? Oh God, I thought I'd just get in a boat, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's probably the same. Yeah, as some people do. You just didn't really know what to expect.
I don't know. I don't think anyone does now. You can't.
Even unless you've done ocean rowing before, you don't know what to expect. You think it's going to be the same as river rowing or something. We actually went and done some training river rowing. And it was so hard. Obviously, thin boats, you're wobbling about everywhere. You're thinking, oh God, I'm never going to be able to do this. But then you get on them boats, and they're big, and they're much easier. But then when you're in 30-foot swell, obviously, there's no technique. Technique's gone out the window anyway. Yeah. So it's just about grizzling it out for as long as you can and hoping for the best. But
So you did it as a team of 4.
Yeah.
What was that like? Team dynamic wise, because like you said, it was a team that was sort of just put together.
Yeah,
I think. So how did you find that?
I think in a way it was a good thing, because three out of 4 of us were still, obviously, we're former Marines. One wasn't, and he was actually the captain. All the 4.
Who was that?
Connor. Yeah, a really legend. All 4 of them, Oscar, Blur, Connor. They're all amazing lads, and the dynamic was just great. We got on straight away, and obviously probably couldn't have done it without them. They're great lads. But because we didn't know each other beforehand, we actually spoke about it as a bit of a laugh. That was probably a advantage, because if you went with your best mates or people you've known for years, when it got to that point, when you're over the edge, it's very easy to snap at people and fall out with people. But when you don't know them really well, you kind of hold your tongue a little bit, and then you calm down, and you haven't caused an argument. So in a way, we didn't have a single argument, any of us. The entire way across, which was pretty mad. Yeah, I may have opened the hatch and smacked Oscar on the head once, but I don't know. That's fair. I mean, we're all you're just so tired and crazy. It's just overall we got on really well, and I think that dynamic we got lucky to have that.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of fell into place.
How long did it take you?
So just under 7 weeks, 48 days.
48 days.
Packed for 50 days. We were hoping for about 42, obviously, because unlike the Talisker race, for example, it's no support whatsoever. No support vessels. There's no auto helm. Or anything like that. So
I'll explain that. I'll explain. So you were in a Rossiter. Yeah. So a Rossiter is an older style of boat.
Yeah, a bit of an old school.
Head heavier, made of wood. So, and as well, the bow cabin is smaller, so it doesn't get as much assistance from the wind. The thing Mitch is talking about there, the auto helm, is an electronic piece of equipment that keeps you on course, basically steers for you. I had 4 on my boat. They all ended up breaking, so I ended up having to foot steer.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so that's all we did. We foot steered the entire way. I ended up spending most of the time in the bow, actually. So a lot of it, was obviously pick a star, choose a course, you put your foot in the right direction, but having to steer that, in, as you know, in them conditions,
it's tough. It's tough. Very tough.
You know, 12 hours a day at least for you as well. But you constantly, it's just not only your mind, your body working, it's your mind as well, trying to keep that bearing, and it's it makes it, I guess, more rewarding as well.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You put in more work, you know. But yeah, that was alright.
What do they always say? The tougher the battles, the sweeter the victories.
That's it, mate. And honestly, I've come to learn that, and it's so much true. It's so much truer.
Yeah, I would ask what's the high point, but people don't care. They want to know when you suffered. So what was the toughest part of that row?
It's a hard one, really. I'd say probably about 4 or 5 days in. Everyone has that little wobble, just a moment when you realise, you know, people turn around before and stuff, you know, because they just realise what's ahead of them. I think it was just after about 3 or 4 days.
I don't know if you've been watching or paying any attention to the Talisker Whiskey Pacific Challenge.
Not recently, but that's mad.
So they've had a team of 3 turn round within the first 5 days.
That's what I mean.
And
they just
what I find mental, and I don't mean to sort of speak to, like, patronise you here, Mitch, is they've got a Rannoch all the way out to the States, and we're talking the West Coast as well. So the shipping would have been expensive. They've spent a lot of money. It's not a quick evolution. That would have taken them a minimum of 18 months, 12 years at a push, 12 months at a push.
Yeah, exactly.
To just rap on it, mate.
But that's you say. People don't underestimate what's ahead of them. Really, that's why you need to kind of not know what you're doing, but speak to people that have done it. You know, that's good. That's what I did before as well.
Yeah.
Kind of, if you know what you're getting yourself into.
But then there's a lot of bullshit merchants, mate, as well. I always find, like, people will go, "Oh, it's the fucking most impossible thing ever." Like, and this is what I don't like about a lot of people now. Everyone bigs themselves up.
Yeah.
They did the hardest thing.
No, exactly.
You know, like, fucking hell, when they went through training, they had to knit their own socks.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, it was tough, and I'm not downplaying it.
Yeah, of course.
It was fucking hard, but of course it is. I was fucking rowing the Atlantic. We're rowing the Atlantic, like.
I completely agree, mate. Yeah.
But you've got to be careful who you speak to, basically, is what I'm saying. But if you speak to the right people like me and Mitch, you'll be rowing the Atlantic next December.
I mean, definitely if you speak to me, I always get
mate,
shit for being the most optimistic bloke in the world. Like that. But that is the whole point of, like, why I done it, why I'm doing this big expedition. Like, soon, one of the main reasons is for, like, family and friends, is to literally get that point out of saying anyone can do anything. Yeah. That is the point I'm trying to get out. You haven't got to be, people, like, you know, say to me, they probably say, you must be superhuman, like, fit.
I can tell you now, mate, I'm looking at Mitch. He's built like the side of a fiver.
Exactly. Built like, maybe a tenner, mate. Come on. Maybe the side of a tenner. But no, but it's true. It's like people just, society has kind of brought us into this mindset. As kind of, you know, society has kind of conditioned everyone into a mindset that of what it limits them on a massive level, you know. But people just need to put that to one side and just realise that don't just think it's hard because someone said to you you can't do it. If you believe it, if you want to do it, you can literally do anything. That's
Mitch,
part of the point.
I 100% agree, mate. I couldn't agree more. Because I was not a gifted athlete at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was always fit and I was a bit strong, and, you know, my physical attributes were all right, but I was awful at football, awful at, like, any sort of sport.
Yeah.
But just tried really hard, and I honestly believe the majority of people couldn't do anything they want to as long as they put their mind to it.
Yeah, of course.
But like you said, we've been conditioned to think, oh no, we can't.
Yeah.
Like, I never river rowed. You've never river rowed before.
No, of course not.
And then you go and row the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It's just because in the mindset up here, it probably comes from, well, you know, both did commando training.
Yeah.
That your yardstick is constantly getting moved.
Yeah, we've got an advantage, and we've had that kind of, because that is it.
That exposure to
it's the mental
hardship.
The hardship. That's it. It's resilience. You learn to do it. We're only better at it because we've done it more. You know, all resilience is someone's ability to strategically manage pain.
Yeah.
And we've just.
I love that, mate.
And we've learned. That's actually Ross from Ross Edgley. So don't quote me that. The legend. That is Ross.
Nah. It's you, Mitch. It's you, Mitch.
Not. Podcast, listen to that twice on the road. Absolute legend. But that's obviously the way he put it, and it's such a. I was like that. I listened to it again, cycling across the United States when things got really hard. It's all about resilience, and people. Once you learn, you just have loads of different channels of reserves of what to tap into. You know what motivates you to do it, and you just tap into all these channels, and you just get better at it. You learn what channels to tap into, and you just learn to strategically manage that pain better, and that's what you go through. But people that haven't been exposed to it, if you don't put yourself in the hard position and challenge yourself, you're never going to progress mentally or physically. But that's what I'm saying, 99% is mental, 1%. Yeah, I'm not saying you can be 20 stone and go and do an ultramarathon tomorrow. Anyone can do anything they can. But the point is, yes, you can. It will take a bit longer than someone that's an athlete already, but you can literally do the exact same thing that person can do. The only difference is you've just got a bit more work in.
No, mate, that's awesome. So you get to Barbados. Yeah. Tell me about how that was, mate.
It was just surreal, really.
Any family out there?
No, it was COVID, obviously. You know how hard it was, a bit of a pain in the ass. My mum was meant to come over, but I don't think the idiot didn't get a passport sorted in time. It may have been what happened there. But
Mum, if you're listening.
Yeah. Did you have yours?
Yeah, I was really lucky, mate.
Say, good on you.
I probably had, I think, about 30 people come to the finish.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mate, absolutely incredible.
But that makes such a difference. But at that point, it didn't ruin it at all.
Yeah.
You know it did. Like, that feeling when you first step
it just
off,
enhances it, mate.
Yeah, when we got off, quite annoying, didn't get set off a flare because we were coming in a bit too fast. But no, we got round the corner and there was good, like, a few people meeting us there, like, family. A couple of the guys had their family there as well, and there was a few locals, and obviously the people who were supporting us, a few people that lived there as well. So, but at that point, obviously, you just don't care. It was amazing. We got off. Obviously, couldn't walk for like 3 days.
Was it really that bad for you boys?
About 2 days. Yeah. Well, for the first day, definitely you couldn't walk in a straight line, and then.
Oh yeah, I was definitely that. But
then for the next kind of 48 hours, it was like, you know, you would be obviously. Just we walking and fall into a wall.
So the way, exactly. And it's because I saw a guy get carried off his boat once, and I always thought that's a bit much. Because when I got off mine, don't get me wrong, I was all over the place.
Of course, we were the same. We didn't get carried. We literally got given the beer straight away. And had to be like just shoulder escorted by each of us had an escort, like to kind of not carry us, but to support us, because obviously the
pontoon's
thin. Tiny little pontoon. It's wooden pontoon. It's like probably 50 years old. You know, nearly fell in a few times. But
you didn't, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I jumped in, dived in. That was good because I hadn't even been in across the whole row. You know, a lot of people do. Connor had been the one to get in to do the barnacles and stuff like that, and ironically, I hadn't even jumped in once.
How come you didn't jump in?
I think at the time I can't remember the exact reasons why we didn't, because I was always excited for it, and when there was wildlife around that we really wanted to see, conditions were too bad to even consider jumping in. It has to be the right conditions, but I never forget, like, the first thing I did was just dive in, and it was like, oh, this is
mate, it's pucker dicey. I remember once I chucked my parachute anchor in, and you meant to deploy the parachute anchor facing the wind, so you get pushed away from it. In the madness, I just chucked it in, and my boat had gone straight over it.
Yeah.
Wrapped the retrieval line round the rudder, so I've had to jump in to get it out, boat up and down like that, because that's another thing people don't realise. If that boat lands on your head, it's probably about a ton. It'll knock you out and you'll drown.
Oh yeah,
and
you've got no chance. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, at least with a team of 4, someone might see and drag you out. So yeah, that was pretty gnarly. So it's a shame you didn't get to jump in, but I understand why you didn't jump in.
Yeah. Just because of conditions, we were just unlucky most of the time. When we did want to jump in. But it was amazing. Never forget getting escorted over to the restaurant and having the first meal in nearly
what did
7
you have?
Weeks. Double bacon cheeseburger.
Same, so good.
Double bacon cheeseburger, and like in the really high end restaurant, in the yacht club after nearly 50 days of pure military rations, and obviously. What that does to your body is quite interesting.
Some of the poos are pretty bad.
Well, after 2 weeks, obviously they're designed to clog you up. They're designed to constipate you, so you leave less ground sign. That's what they're designed for. So won't go into too much detail, obviously, but after about 2 weeks, after 2 or 3 weeks, the remaining like month or so, everyone was having very painful poos, let's put it that way. And
Did you just have military rations?
We had like a few little supplements, so we had like cracked into every now and again, but like 90% of it was dry pack dehydrated rations, and so a few like salamis and things like that. And halfway point we had a little goodie pack given to us by the lads.
Nice.
And,
do you know one of the things? So I had like cans of Nocco.
Yeah.
But the problem with cans is, so Chris Martin was like, make sure you take a couple of cans of Coke.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to this that's about to row an ocean, don't take cans.
Weight probably as well.
Well, not weight. So by the time I'd got to nearer the finish, like 80 days, a lot of the cans had lost the majority of their fluid.
Oh, right. Okay,
I don't know how it happens, but they like decompress or whatever. Oh. The fizz goes, even though they're perfectly sealed. Yeah. So you imagine that you've been looking forward for a Nocco for 80 days, and then you crack it and it's literally a quarter. Oh, it was awful, mate. But bottles, I used to have a Rubicon. Rubicon a week. Oh, mate. Nice. Too good. That
was good. Now we had like the little mini spirit bottles. So we had like when we cracked that at half, when we got to like the 1,000 mile point or the 1,500 mile point, cracked open the tin peaches and the little bottle of whiskey, a little bottle of vodka, and obviously even one shot of that, the way you're feeling, wherein we we're burning 7,000 calories a day each, and like you can feel it straight away. Like, oh, that feels good. Better not have too many of them.
It's funny. I had a beer at the halfway point, and it was boiling hot, mate. I remember having like half. I was like, poured up a bit away. I won't name the brand. No. But that wasn't enough for you, mate, rowing the Atlantic, was it? Because then you were just straight on to your cycle across America, mate.
Yeah, so but the road is probably where it all started. I've always had that in my mind, the bonkers things. As I say, it started when I was, way before that, when I was really young. Like, when I was 15, I saved up and flew to Africa on my own. I just turned 16 and climbed Kilimanjaro. That was the first thing I ever did.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the youngest people to ever climb it on my own, as in solo, without a group or anything like that. Yeah. So that kind of got it started. And then 2 years after that, I was up Everest Base Camp. I was 18. And then since then, I've just loads of other little stuff. But it's always been in my mind. But the Marines definitely accelerated that desire, that adventure, And but then obviously when I was free of it, I was like, what, like, this is the first time. I was like 27, obviously. First time I've not been kind of told where I can go and what I can do since I was 21. So it was like, possibilities are endless now. But it was that row that obviously 24 hours a day, 12 hours a day, you're thinking, you've got so much time to think and plan. That's when I was sitting there talking with Connor about it, and never forget. That's where it all kind of come about. Rowing away, I was thinking, it'd be really cool to cycle across the United States just on my own, kind of thinking about training.
What do you think about this? So I say it gave me like a bit of inspiration, but cycling the circumference of America.
Yeah, definitely.
Because awesome. I would counted this out. I think it's 34.
Yeah.
But just going and ticking off all the states.
I only managed to tick off 8 in the end, but that's still...
That's mad that you cycled how many miles?
It was over 3,000. It worked out just under 5,000 kilometres. So through Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas.
Well, Texas is so big, though, isn't it?
3 times the size of the UK, and I was literally came in from one end and entered in Louisiana and at the entire width of it. So I was in Texas for like 10 days, because just Texas alone was further than trying to go to Land's End.
Yeah.
Just that one state, and it was like I was like, God, I've been here for a long time. But yeah, then New Mexico, Arizona, and California. So. Yeah, but all the ideas they all originated from the boat, from the Maoris, just laying there rowing. I remember I was speaking, because my dream was always, we'll go into the other big one later, was always Everest and climbing that, and mountaineering's always been a massive part of what I love, and so I was always going to do it from ski level, but then when I was talking to him about how to make it bonkers, and so the original idea, what we're going to hear soon, is literally came from that boat, just thinking about how can we make this just nuts, and but the cycle across America I always wanted to do, because only having really been over there with the military, which I really wanted.
29 Palms, Vegas for
and New York, and I've been to the East Coast with work and stuff as well, and things like that. But I just wanted to see. I was like, not only will it be great training for what I'm doing next, which is half the reason why I done it. Also, I was just thinking the Deep South, redneck cowboy country. Like, what better way to experience America is just to cycle on your own through like Alabama, Louisiana, through the swamplands and the deserts and the ranches, and it lived up to every dream, lived up to everything you can imagine. It was just bonkers, running over alligators, getting attacked by dogs, tornadoes, sandstorms. Luckily, no.
What were the people like?
Amazing, best people. Like, haven't been to the East and West Coast. People in the South of America, different league. You've probably heard the hospitality of the South, before Southern hospitality, and it's amazing. I mean, I would have had a heck of a harder time without the people that I met along the way. I had 17 punctures, for example, and a couple of them were like bad and irreparable on the side of the road. So I got picked up a couple of times and taken to a bike shop, brought back, that kind of thing, or taken to their home to help sort it out and come back again, and just people giving up their beds, people buying you dinner. I'd literally be rocking up at a gas station, at a petrol station, and the people, like in Florida, they'd be like, well, where are you heading? I'd be like, California. They'd be like, what? Here's $100, and they just give me $100 cash.
No way. Or
pretty much guaranteed, if I was having a meal and I'd started speaking to someone and they asked what I was doing, you wouldn't be paying for your meal. It never happened, but so very lucky in that respect. So saved quite a bit of money on that respect.
I can imagine.
But they're just amazing people.
What would be your advice for someone that wants to cycle across America? Because I've heard the roads are quite dicey.
They can be, yeah. I mean, advice would be avoid the freeways as much as you can, like I did. Stick to the highways and small roads. Obviously
surely you can't go on the freeway now?
Not most of them, and I didn't know you could go on freeways. You can go on some.
On a push bike?
Yes, it depends where you are. So, for example, in in most places, if you're coming in and out of cities or urban areas, it's impossible pretty much. But it got to a point when I was in West Texas in the middle of the desert, nothing to be seen for hundreds of miles really. And the I-10, which is one of the big main freeways over there, there was no route that avoided the freeway. And then I googled it and actually spoke to a couple of locals, and essentially in Texas, a push bike can go on the freeway, but at that point,
so a freeway is obviously our motorway.
A freeway is our motorway, and the highways are our A roads essentially. And I always stuck to the A roads or B roads or smaller roads, trying to get more of an experience as well.
Yeah,
mate,
for me,
it wasn't about going like a million miles an hour. It was about experiencing. As cliche as it sounds, it's not about the destination; it's about the journey. It really is, So, but I was still averaging 140, 150 kilometers a day, 6 out of 7 days a week, non-stop. Yeah, which was still like, and
that's a fair.
It was,
what is that? 6 hours a day?
8 to 10. So
8 to 10,
because it would be a nice pace. I had all my weight, every single bit, completely unsupported. Obviously, every single bit of weight I was carrying myself: the tent, the food, the repair kit, all my clothing, like 5 different bags on the bike. So I didn't average massive speed, but that's not what it was about. I'd wake up at 6, 7 a.m. and I'd be cycling 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening, basically like a working shift every day. Anything between 8 and 10 hours every single day, it's like going to work, and then you can have a beer when you finish, which I did. That's the whole point, and it was amazing. So I'm not a cyclist, but doing that was a big eye-opener, that's for sure.
It sounds, mate, one hell of an adventure. What would be your advice? I asked you sort of a couple of questions there.
My advice, just take it easy and avoid the big roads, like I say. Just probably plan ahead a bit more than I did in some instances. Not that you needed to, because I was just flipping between wild camping in forests and under bridges and motels and other days and stuff, because you can't plan that much ahead anyway, because you never know how far you're going to get that day, if your body's going to break something, or you're going to twist something, or you're going to have a puncture. You can't really plan that much. So best advice would be just go over there with an open mind, really, and just accept, like, things won't go exactly as they planned, but that's half the point. I can't know what happened with me, and it was a little bit mad. Just be very wary of the roads. As I say, overall,
wear a helmet.
Very good. 100%. I did. I never didn't wear a helmet, which was quite, But yeah, when a truck comes past you at like 80 miles an hour, it's pretty pitch black in El Paso next to the Mexican border. It's a bit like, oh god, a bit crazy here. But it's
squeaky bum time.
Yeah, a little bit. But just take lots of like cream.
Yeah.
Obviously, not that I had any issues really, but just a few. I'd say take lots of cream, take lots of painkillers. A big bit of advice would be get regular kind of sports massages if you can, and that kind of thing. I was trying to have one every once a week or something. Most of the time they were free, which was quite good.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
really good.
Really did it. I was having ice baths. Every single motel I was in, the ice machines they have in America, every single hotel will be having ice baths, full-blown ice baths for that. So I would just say, just take your time and obviously do your recovery properly. And
how much did that whole expedition cost you?
Probably about $5,000 or something. I paid for most of it myself. Again, I got a bit of money given by a couple of people, and which I was thankful about. But a lot of it was just kind of out my own pocket. But all raising money for the charity that I'm now fully partnered with, like as in fundraising for them, and I'm now part of the team. They're amazing. So how
long did it take you in total?
For America, that was 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah, it was. I've actually finished 5 days quicker than what I thought, because I had to be in California by a certain date, because I had to fly to Australia to meet my mum for her 60th birthday. So I was like, right, I've got a time limit here. So I actually probably went a bit faster than I wanted to, and I ended up finishing like 6-7 days before my flight out, which was quite good. Because annoyingly, you have to obviously book your outbound flight when you first enter the United States. You have to book your outbound flight. You have to have an outward ticket. So
do you?
Yeah. So it was annoying because I didn't know how long it would take. It could take me 5 weeks. Could take me 8. Could take me 4 weeks. Could take me 8 weeks. So
did you go over on an Ester?
Yeah, it was just a standard Ester. Yeah. I knew I was going to be there for longer than a few
90 days.
Yeah, exactly. And so but in the end, just 6 weeks essentially. 6 weeks, having pretty much every 1 day off a week, just to stretch and recover and then cracking on. But stopping off in good places like New Orleans and places like that, and Texas, great places. But yeah, it was a good cuff. Put it that way. It was a full cuff, but it was, let's just say, an organised cuff.
Yeah.
Things like wing things in life.
Semi-cuff.
It was a semi-cuff.
Whatever happened to the bike?
It's actually in my sister's garage in Sydney.
Oh, so you shipped it back?
Yeah.
Flew it back.
Well, it would have cost about $800 to $800 to have it shipped. Well, however, it was less than 25 kilos, so So from Los Angeles to Sydney, it cost nothing because it was classed as because obviously I didn't have a bag. I only had my $10 backpack, Vans backpack I got from a thrift shop in LA. So all I had to check in was my bike in the box, which even though it was big, it was under 25 kilos, so it was just counted as my checked luggage, and I got it for free, so it's just still sat in their garage now.
To live on, I'm sure, another adventure cycling around Australia.
It. Well, whether or not I bring it back for the next expedition, I'm not too sure, but it'll be a good backup bike, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So the next expedition, mate, and the one I think you're most excited to talk about, tell us.
So it's again something that I thought about whilst rowing, and I was thinking, how can I make something just that's bigger than anything I've ever done, really, but still realistic. So essentially, it's what will be the world's longest triathlon. It's actually a 4-stage event. So a swim, cycle, jog, run / hike, and then a climb. So it's a 12,000 kilometre journey, starting with swimming across the channel. So swimming the English Channel, and then from the channel, hopping on the bike in Calais and cycling 10,000 kilometres from France to West Bengal in India to sea level, to a little town called Digger near Calcutta, and then from there ditching the bike, and there's about 30 back-to-back marathons, just over 900 kilometres from there to Kathmandu on foot. So it'll be a speed march / jog. It'll be on foot as quick as I can, basically. Probably I'm looking to average, say, about a marathon distance a day.
Yeah.
And then probably a bit of a breather in Kathmandu, because again, it's not a time trial. It's about showing that anything's possible, and the long game. It's a proper endurance event. From Kathmandu, it's about a 350 kilometre trek climb from Kathmandu to essentially Everest Base Camp, trek to Everest itself, and then climbing Everest to the summit, all in one 5-month gigantic expedition, essentially.
Mate, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think it's amazing, mate. A lot of people probably ask why.
Yeah, that's everyone's reaction is the same.
Yeah,
why? What the hell?
But what I want to know is the logistics of an expedition like this, because this is what people don't see, don't appreciate.
No, it's like I say, getting to the start line of anything is the hard part. Getting to the start line of this, especially, is the hard part. The only reason this has become such a reality in the last month is mainly just because of the support of a few really, really, really important people that I've got. Like this, I was always going to do this, but it was also, I thought it would take a bit longer with the logistics and things. But having a call with Elite Expeditions and NIMS Dipersia, they called me up basically saying that they're fully behind me for this entire expedition, which changed things a lot, because when they come to getting sponsorship from companies which you already have a lot of interest in, when you approach them with that kind of backing, it gives a lot more favour to yourself, essentially. And then having spoken to multiple people within my charity who are supporting me, I realise the level of support I have. So the charity itself, we're talking government ministers, former generals, and people like this.
Yeah. It's probably a good time to mention the charity. So what charity are you raising money for?
So it's called SavSim,
which
is a charity set up a few years ago, quite small but amazing charity, which focuses on mental health, veterans' mental health for people that are leaving and basically in transition from leaving the military and struggling with mental health issues. But also they're two parts. The second part is wildlife conservation, so anti-poaching. So they support dozens of wildlife projects around the world, especially in Africa. So there's 5 countries they currently operate in, training rangers for anti-poaching. But then in the UK, they also support a lot of veterans who have been struggling. So they have a partnership with London Zoo, with ZSL London Zoo, and they run several courses a year, hoping to 2 courses at the moment, hoping to really increase that. So they run courses that are partnered with London Zoo, bringing veterans who are struggling in and doing therapeutic courses.
I think I saw Johnny Mercer.
Yeah, Johnny Mercer
was down there.
Yeah, that's it. Johnny Mercer, they say the Veterans Minister, is one of our biggest supporters.
Yeah, he was in London Zoo. So I've seen the programme you're talking about. It looks really good.
Yeah. It's really good. It's working really well. It's working amazing. Just seeing great results, psychological results from all the participants. And we're hoping to just, by doing this, by raising as much as we can on my expedition, will increase the number of courses that can be run. And then with the missions, with the efforts in Africa and places like that, we'll be able to train hundreds more rangers and just give us the resources to just help so many more people. And it's not just the military. They just had the first female police officer on the course as well, who got massively helped by the course includes stuff like therapeutic yoga, art, that kind of thing, and just working with the animals and the environment and nature as well. So it's just two kind of things for me which I'm mega passionate about. Like I say,
wildlife,
wildlife conservation and mental health.
And mental health,
and the fact that it kind of ties them two together and works, kind of links them two and works together within them two is amazing. That's why I like it, and that's why I do all these things for them now.
Nah, mate, it's a fucking alley expedition, mate. I wish I could join you, mate. But obviously the knee.
Well, but by then you'll probably be able to do some part.
Yeah.
But that's part of the thing. It's I've got so many people doing various stages with me. Whether it's part of the cycle, a few days.
Yeah, what I want to know is the cycle. So talk me through. Have you inquired about visas? Because
so the route takes you through. It takes you through Europe essentially. I won't lay off all the countries, but through Europe, Germany.
The bit I want to know about is once we go through Turkey.
Yeah, everyone wants to know that bit. Yeah, so that's obviously the main bit, which has caused most issues. The route is still obviously under review because politically things change all the time. But essentially it's the southeast border of Turkey. It's Iran and Pakistan. Iran and Pakistan into India. They're the two question marks at the moment, just in terms of exactly where the crossing is going to be in the visas. But obviously, as I say, with the talks I've had with the charity and people within, that's it's realistic, and it's just going to be a case of where exactly we cross into. Like one of the supporters of the charity, for example, knows lots of people around in the government level, so we'll be able to help a lot with knowing where to go exactly, and so when we arrive they're expecting us, and it's not going to be a case of I'm just winging this and we turn up,
because you can't wing something like that. And I don't know if you've heard of something, because Oscar brought me on to it, a guy you rode with, the Mongol Rally.
Mongol Rally.
So people can go through Iran. I've just done a bit of research just before the podcast.
Exactly.
It's quite hard to find out, because there's no, you type in American visa and it's click here.
Whereas it's harder when it comes to Iranian. It is harder, but like I say, with the right support and enough time, that's one of the main logistical efforts, because most of the way across Europe and things like that, as I say, the cycle across America was just over, pretty much bang on half the distance of what I'm going to be doing. So I know physically, mentally, logistically, no problem. And especially across Europe, no problem. Even though I'm going to be doing it myself, we'll probably have a little support vehicle as well for a lot of it. Even though I'm going to carry all my kit and make for more of the challenge, especially when we get to Turkey, for example, probably we'll have a support vessel. I was thinking about the swim now. Because obviously I've just had the pilot booked. So the first stage of this, it's so many logistics. The first stage is having to book the channel swim with the federation and booking a vessel to be your escort. So many things involved. But that's now sorted.
When do you qualify and swim?
Any time within 6 months before. You just have to swim 6 hours in the cold water, essentially.
Oh, really?
So going through that, I was going through it quickly. So the swims,
mate, you don't have to go through it quickly. Take your time, brother.
Yeah. So that's just the first stage, obviously the swim, which probably it's going to require the most training, essentially, because it's the first part, the toughest. I'm a good swimmer, but however, swimming the channel is tough.
It's a lick swimming, mate. Before my injury, I was training up my swimming.
Yeah, of course you were. You know what it's like.
Yeah, I wanted to do a 12.
And even the technique in open water swimming is completely different. I've only ever done a couple of one open water swim, actually.
What blows my mind is, so when I was doing that ultra marathon last year, is I can run zone 2 for 8 hours, 20 minutes. I think it took me to do 65k or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's fine. But swimming for an hour, because as soon as I start swimming, it's like I'm sprinting.
Yeah.
So that's what you've got to learn. You've got to be efficient through the water. Nice and lazy as my.
It's lazy. It's all about technique, isn't it?
It's what my swimming coach told me.
Lazy, efficient, and it's just technique, breathing. That's it. Once you can, and obviously getting used to the cold. So I'm really looking forward to getting into the real nitty gritty parts of the parts of the training when it comes to swimming the channel. But I'm confident, like I say, and that's why people say, it's impossible to do it. Most people train their life to swim the channel. Most people train their life just to do or just to do that. And I'm trying to do all of it in one. But that's what I mean. It sounds big, but this is the message I'm trying to get across to people. When you compartmentalise your life, anything you want to achieve, you compartmentalise it, break it down, never think of the whole picture. Before we're in the Atlantic, if you think of 3,000 miles of open ocean, 5,000 miles of open ocean, it's not reality. You think of one day, you think of day one. Let's get through day one, let's get through day two, let's get to the quarter point, let's get to the half point.
So funny you say that, mate. So when I was rowing, because I had to row down to the Canaries and then across.
Yeah, you came down to us, didn't you?
I used to look at the distance to my final waypoint, and it just didn't go down in miles, because obviously I wasn't getting closer.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just going.
You were going, exactly.
Yeah, I was just heading south.
Yeah, I think we had that for a little bit, obviously, not as long as you, but we have to go parallel with the west coast of Africa before going across as well. But that must have been really demoralising. You know,
but you're so right. You just break it down day at a time.
That's what I mean. It's not just that. It's any challenge anyone wants to do. You know, the whole thing. When you think of the whole picture, it becomes very overwhelming. Whereas, my mindset I have now, I know I can do this. I know I can swim the channel with enough training. I know the bike ride. I've already done over half of it, and I know I can physically do it. It's just the logistical parts now that we're ironing out. I know the jog. I know I can the jogs and trek. The combination of the two I can do. So I've done that distance, a marathon distance, for a week before. You know, across mountains, across hills, and as well as other stuff. I know that with the training again, I can do that. And it's just so the only kind of part left is the Everest itself, which is already the preparation is already underway. I'm climbing Abu Dhabi in October with Nims himself, which is going to be amazing. So the technical training there, as well as another expedition before next summer as well. So by the time it comes around, it looks on paper, I know it is crazy. However, you compartmentalize things, and even stuff that seems impossible becomes possible. No,
amazing, mate. I love the attitude. Yeah, how does having Nims and elite expeds on your side, how has that helped? Because you said the last month has been mental.
That's kind of the thing that tweaked it for it to become a reality. So not only from a logistical standpoint in terms of getting sponsorship and the publicity that it's bringing to it and helping with the charity, it's going to help raise the money. It's going to give funders faith now. They're going to want to invest, not only because it's with them and such a well-known brand, but it's more logistical side of things. Like as soon as I cross the border into India, I've got their full support in terms of helping find accommodation, like the route, guides, everything, the permit. So the whole latter stage of the expedition now is very much, I haven't got to worry about it. It's in the best hands that you could ever hope for, you know, and my life is in the best hands that I could ever hope for, being with not just Nims but his entire team, you know, Mingma, all the Sherpa, all of his team. They're all absolute legends. Being with them is just going to, I'm not only going to be so honoured, it means that a lot of the work that I would have had to stress about beforehand is going to be in the best hands possible. Like I say, so now it's become realistic because of their sport, basically.
Yeah, no, they are
much more realistic.
Yeah, no, they are a great operator.
Team.
I've got a friend, believe it or not, who is actually Nims Dai's brother-in-law.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so we actually served together at 2-4 Commando.
Yeah,
and he's got, you'll probably meet him, mate, TJ. Yeah, great guy, and he's just left the army to go and work for Nims, mate. So you'll get to meet him.
Work for him.
Yeah.
He works for Elite Exped, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, there you go. I'll ask for a job after.
Mate, you jammy bastard. Yeah, that's what I used to say to him as well.
Yeah. That's good.
Mate, really enjoyed speaking to you. Where can people follow this journey?
So the website's actually just been launched today, which has everything on it. The blog, all the details about the route, the events page when things are coming up, and that is 12,000k to Everest.com.
12,000k to Everest.com.
Yeah, I might have to double check that. I have 12,000k to Everest.com.
And what about your Instagram, brother?
And there is one that's just come out, but at the moment, if you just follow my Instagram and all the stories updated on there, and there's even a link to the Instagram page, which is solely for the expedition, which has just been created. So mine is Mitch with 2 H's _ 1893. So Mitch 1893 with 2 H's. But also, like I say, the website is just 12,000k to Everest. But the project is called Limitless. 12,000k to Everest, mate, because that's half the point. But
I absolutely love it, and I can't wait. And I'm sure I'll probably have you on just before you go, mate.
Yeah, mate, no worries.
Definitely, mate, definitely. But my final question, mate, for you is, if you could give yourself, a younger you, some advice, what would it be?
Probably the one that most people say, but it's so true. Just work hard, and anything you do is never going to be out of your reach. You know, no matter what you think might be impossible, is possible.
No,
that might sound cheesy, but it's true. You know, as
it is true, like we said at the start of the pod.
As a young kid, you limit yourself. You know, you think, but just you got on this. Once you really dig deep, just I tell myself, you're limitless, basically, and that's the whole point. That's what we're trying to say.
Mate, I love it. Guys, that is the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please could you like, follow and subscribe, as it really helps grow the podcast. Thank you for listening. Mitch.
Pleasure. Thanks,
love
mate.
that, brother, mate. Thank you ever so much for coming down, mate.
Nice.